gentlemen. I be placed in a bewilderment. There I were, resting. And upon a sudden, I hear an ungodly row on deck. Sailors abandoned their posts without orders, without leave. Men before the mast, taking the ship for themselves. Would be that, first mate?
Mutiny, Captain.
Again.
Mutiny!
Aye. Mutiny.
Imagine you are a resident of Charleston Harbor, South Carolina, and the date is November 15th, 1718, and you're enjoying your walk to your shop. In the distance in the mouth of the harbor, 4 ships seem to be sitting still, which is odd because you're normally seeing sailing vessels either entering or leaving Charleston Harbor. This ship is still, not leaving or coming to dock. While you're about to start walking again, you hear something thundering off in the distance, and shortly after, the sound of cannonballs start to strike the nearby ships. You fall to the ground and you feel like it's the start of a war. However, this isn't another country invading. It is a pirate with a fleet of ships, and not just any pirate, it's Edward Teach, and more notably known as Blackbeard. Today on Nautical Dis, we explore the famous pirate both in reality and in fiction, so all hands on deck, and as Blackbeard says, the time and tide waits for none. Before becoming Blackbeard, he was known as Edward Teach. It was said he was possibly born near the area of Bristol, England. Not much was known about his earlier life, however, he did go to sea as a young man. He was a privateer during the War of the Spanish Succession, where he would rob ships in the West Indies. When the conflict concluded, he went and returned to piracy, which many former privateers would do as well. Around 1716, Teach was under the command of Benjamin Thorngold, who was a pirate captain. They sailed from the pirate colony of New Providence to the mainland of America. During this voyage, they captured numerous ships, with cargo ranging from flour and wine to silk and gold bullion. In 1717, the crew of Thorngold captured a large merchant ship. Teach, now the captain of this ship, he decided to equip it as a warship. When refitting was done, the ship had 40 guns and was renamed Queen Anne's Revenge. Teach's former captain, Thorngold, gave up piracy shortly after this. It was said a Captain Woodes Rogers, a British-appointed governor of the Bahamas, was giving out pardons to pirates if they would leave piracy and change their ways. Thorngold and others took the pardons. However, Edward Teach did not, and started his short but infamous career as a pirate. A man with a loud voice, he created a horrifying appearance for those he attacked. His beard was the way most would remember him. Some saying his beard would cover his whole face and it grew down to his waist. When he would attack ships, some people would say his beard was smoking too. He would do this by tucking pieces of hempen rope in his beard. These were soaked in saltpeter and was lit into his hair. This would create a slow burning effect and make thick clouds of black smoke. As some would say, it gave him the appearance of a living demon. Captain Charles Johnson, who wrote a pirate history book after Teach's death, stated that his beard was black, which he suffered to grow at extravagant length as to breadth. It came up to his eyes. He was accustomed to it, with ribbons in small tails, and turned them about his ears. In time of action, he wore his sling over his shoulders with 3 brace of pistols hanging in holsters like bandoliers, and stuck lighted matches under his hat, which appearing on each side of his face. His eyes, naturally looking fierce and wild, made him altogether such a figure that imagination cannot form an idea of fury from hell to look more frightful. Blackbeard followed patterns like most pirates would. In the summer months, the pirates would rob ships off the coast of the Carolinas and Virginia, and in the winter months, Blackbeard would head towards the warmer weather of the Caribbean. With his fleet of stolen and converted ships, he and his crew would return to Charleston, South Carolina in the spring of 1718. He brought with him 3 other ships where the pirates blockaded the harbor of Charleston. They would attack any ship that would leave or enter the area. He also took prisoners and sent a party inland to search for medicine for the crew that had fallen ill. Blackbeard said if they were given the expensive medicines, they would let the prisoners go and leave, which he made good on his word, but he did rob the prisoners of their goods before letting them go. Not long after the blockade, the 40-gun Queen Anne's Revenge sank, not because of a battle, but because Blackbeard refused a king's pardon and ran the Queen Anne's Revenge aground on June 10, 1718, while entering the Beaufort Inlet in North Carolina. It was said it was a deliberate act where Blackbeard disbanded his flotilla and took supplies onto the smaller adventure vessel. He also stranded several of his crew on a nearby island to disperse the crew. However, he surrendered shortly after and took the pardon for himself and his crew. However, this would not be his last hand at piracy. Lieutenant Robert Menard had 2 ships to sail to the Carolina coast with orders to rout the pirates. The pirates were anchored in shallow water, which was difficult to navigate. Menard took small vessels without any guns, which resulted in hand-to-hand combat when they attacked the pirates. Menard learned about Blackbeard being in a sheltered spot near Ocracoke Island. Menard reached the spot on November 21, 1718, waiting nearby to attack in the morning. Menard's ship headed towards Ocracoke Island, spotting the ships, using the oars since there was little to no wind. With many sandbars and obstacles, Menard's ships ran aground. A shouting match occurred with the lieutenant and the pirate, and after this exchange of words, Menard's crew was able to free the 2 vessels. They continued towards Blackbeard's ships, when the crew was hit with a broadside volley, killing several and wounding others. Blackbeard went to board Menard's ship, Jane. However, he was surprised by the crew of the ship. The fight that occurred next would be Blackbeard's last. Menard stating he stood his ground and fought with great fury till he received 25 wounds. That was the demise of Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard. Blackbeard has made many appearances in shows, movies, and literature. For example, Tim Powers' fictional novel On Stranger Tides, with Blackbeard looking for the Fountain of Youth in 1718, which Disney would take their shot with the story, including the infamous pirate with 2011 film Pirates of the Caribbean On Stranger Tides. In 1968, Blackbeard would make another appearance in the famed show Doctor Who, and a BBC miniseries in 2005, Blackbeard starring James Purfoy. Earlier, there was mention about Disney having their own depiction of Blackbeard, but this isn't the first time. There was another Disney film in 1968, Blackbeard's Ghost, which was based on Benjamin Stahl's novel. In Disney's version of the novel of the same name, Blackbeard's Ghost, it was released in 1968 and it starred Dean Jones as Steve Walker, Suzanne Plachette as Joanne Backer, and Peter Ustinov as Blackbeard. The story goes that after an accidental reciting of some magic words, Steve Walker summons the notorious pirate Blackbeard. When summoned, Blackbeard explains that he was cursed by his late wife to roam the earth until he does one good deed. It turns out that only Steve can see the ghost of Blackbeard, so he has little to no choice to aid Blackbeard to complete his task. They help Professor Joanne Backer to stop a gang of criminals from taking over an inn for the elderly with the same name as the pirate. The reception of the film was good, with Variety saying the inspired direction makes it all come alive, with first-rate special effects and sight gags, through a fanciful script that, in a most adroit way, is neither too literate nor too sketchy. Ustinov plays his part to the hilt, mugging and cunning up as the wandering spirit who must do a good deed to achieve repose. Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard, was operating in the West Indies in the 18th century. This was mostly in the 1750s. With a heart full of hatred and a soul as dark as the night, he had pierced fear in the most fearless and bravest sailors. Blackbeard's misdeeds became one of many legend and lore for sailors, pirates, and privateers, which one included Blackbeard being killed by the Royal Navy during his last stand near the Orcock Inlet in 1718. The story goes like the true story of Blackbeard. However, he survived the attack from Menard, but he became more cruel to his crew, and his arsenal became crude. He'd resurrect the dead, which would be some of the men he had killed to be his officers. However, they were undead. Blackbeard himself had supernatural powers by dabbling with the black arts and wielded a sword with a sapphire of Triton being fused into the sword, which would turn captive vessels into a ship in the bottle, which was a prize for Blackbeard's private collection. He would be reunited with his daughter Angelica, who serves as his first maid on board. Later in life, he had a prophesied death from a one-legged man. This was told to Blackbeard by a zombie quartermaster. His last hope was to drink the restorative waters of the Fountain of Youth. After Jack Sparrow was forced to board Blackbeard's ship, where he rendezvoused with fate. With Jack's help, Blackbeard and his crew found the fountain. However, the British Royal Navy, captained by a one-legged Barbossa, and shortly after, the Spanish Navy, led by the Spaniard, arrived, which led to the battle for the Fountain of Youth. Blackbeard was wounded by Barbossa, which his only way to live was to drink from the chalices of Cartagena, which Jack lied about which chalice would heal him, and Blackbeard met his demise. Teach, one of the most notorious pirates to have sailed the seas from the Caribbean to the Carolinas coast. He had created an image of what pirates are in popular culture, from books to song to the big screen. He laid siege to a town which many pirates did not commit. Blackbeard is indeed the most infamous pirate. And to conclude, as Blackbeard says,
but they do tell tales. So says I, Blackbeard.
Hello everyone, and thank you again for watching this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more that is coming up soon. If you like anything that's nautical and Disney as well, you'll definitely want to stay tuned.